Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Poland Daily Travel. Some of you may know where I am. It is an extremely popular location in Poland, and I can say an extremely ancient one, if by ancient we mean medieval and not Greek or Roman. This is the market square in Wrocław. Yes, the city of Wrocław, which has changed hands more often than the proverbial hot potato. This has been a city first started by Slavs on islands in the Odra River, or the Oder as the Germans say it, which is right here and crosses through the heart of the city and forms part and much of the border of Poland, running all the way up to Szczecin and finally into the Baltic Sea at Świnoujście, which is not as easy to say as I made it sound, obviously. Świnoujście. It's close anyway. At any rate, you'll never hear me bragging about my Polish pronunciation, and anybody who's watched this show knows that. At any rate, here we are in this beautiful medieval square. We're going to take a good look around us. You can see that it is bustling and full of people, and it should be, because did you know that this may well be the youngest city in Poland, with a population of over, so I understand, seems a lot, 130,000 students. That might even take the cake in Europe. Smaller and medium cities. Of course, it's not going to beat Paris or London. The other thing is, as you look around, you're going to see a lot of superlatives here. Here's where Grotowski had his theater, the famous Grotowski, who invented a whole new way of acting after Stanislavski, following the Stanislavski method, and then developed his own theatrical methods. He was working on this square. You also have one of the oldest restaurants in Europe. One of the oldest restaurants in Europe, dating back to, I believe, the 1200s, no? Or the early 1300s. At any rate, we'll look more into that in a subsequent program, because right now we're just giving an introduction to this beautiful city of Wrocław, also called Breslau, a city that has been Polish, Bohemian, Austrian, Prussian, German, and Polish again. So it came full circle. The city that was started by Slavs is now a major city of the Slavs. And it's worth noting at this particular point, according to the Financial Times publication, intelligence publication, which looks into trends in urban cities around the world, Wrocław is number one for small to medium cities in the world in terms of its potential in the near future. You see the name of this place behind me. It's called Lwowska. Restaurant Karczma. Lwowska, and Karczma is another name for restaurant in Polish. And the reason it's called Lwowska is because Lwów, or Lviv as it's called today in Ukrainian, is just over the border from Poland these days. But once upon a time it was part of Poland. In fact, up until the end of the Second World War, Lwów was considered part of Poland for many centuries. And what happened at the end of the Second World War, and why is it important that this restaurant is called Lwowska? And why is it called Lwowska when we're way over here on the western side of Poland? When we see that, as we did in Zamość or in Lublin, we understand, because we're very close to Lwów there. Lubelska is the last province before you cross over to Lwów. Well, what happened at the end of the Second World War was, during the war, this was a German city. After the war, it became a Polish city called Wrocław. It was called Breslau by the Germans before the war. After the war, it was called Breslau. So it's a fascinating place, Wrocław. It has, and because of this, all of those changes, it's not surprising that you have such a cross-cultural feeling here. And I use that word because it is a crossroads of many cultures: Polish, German, Czech, Austrian, Ukrainian. And why? Yes, because they moved, the Polish people from Lwów, after the war, to Wrocław. And they moved the Germans out of Breslau, which was now called Wrocław, into various parts of Germany. So that's why there's a restaurant called Lwowska, and it makes sense because a lot of the people who moved here after the war were Poles from the east, from Lwów, which became a Ukrainian city, as everybody knows today, called Lviv. Well, anyway, that's all I have to say about Lwów and about Lviv and about Breslau and about Wrocław, the exciting city of Wrocław, which is considered one of the up-and-coming medium-sized cities, not only in Poland or Europe, but also in the entire world. It's hard to believe. I remember coming here my first time about 20 years ago or so, and it was, well, let's just say, it was a very provincial Silesian city. You see over here, this particular building is dated from 1863, but these tenement houses, and they call these colorful houses, those are called tenement houses. They're much older. Those are medieval buildings, and very typical of the type of German style, Polish style, German-Polish mixed style, or should we say Prussian-Polish mixed style that you will find in cities as disparate as Zamość in the east, Wrocław, where we are now, formerly Breslau, and formerly Bratislava. You will find the same thing in Poznan, in the city squares. You'll find it in Warsaw, in the recreated Old Town, which was totally rebuilt after the war. You will find it in Gdansk, in the Hanseatic city of Gdansk, also known to Germans as Danzig. So these tenement houses are very, very typical for this part of the world in the medieval times. And so are these squares. Look at this square. This is huge. And I believe it's the oldest square of its kind in Poland. Although Krakow might have something to say about that, I believe it's the oldest. May not be. But it's a close rivalry. Remember, this town has been here this settlement has been here, settled on the river, since about 500 when a tribe of Slavs came and settled on the islands in the Odra River, or the Oder River, as they say in German. I keep going back and forth between the names in German and in Polish because, of course, this was Germany for a long time. It was first Polish, and as we've said previously, it's gone through many changes and was latterly German up until the end of the Second World War, and then it became Polish when they moved the boundaries. They moved the boundaries from the east to the west, from the east to the west, and reestablished the country of Poland, which had not really existed except for that brief time between World War I and World War II, for ages, from the late 1700s. It had not existed. At any rate, you can see it very much exists now, and Wrocław is an extremely vibrant and beautiful city. I mean, what more do I need to say? Look behind me. I think, there's actually one building here that has a painted window, if I can just find it, that looks, it's a trompe d'oeil, as the French say, it's a trick of the eye, where they painted this window, and they painted in a window. It's not an actual window, and it fools you. And maybe we'll find that. That's not that one, that's for sure. Can you look up there, that camera? You see that one with the sheet at the top up there? Yeah, it's not that one. That one's just been knocked out. Anyway, we're gonna go do something else that I always like to do. We're gonna check the tourist information. Yeah, I know. I'm supposed to know everything, but I don't. And besides that, it's always good to go in and say hi to the people in the tourism office and just ask, if anything specific is going on. Pick up a map, because we're gonna do that river walk. We're not gonna take the tour on one of those, we're not gonna take it the easy way on one of those buses. We're gonna do the walk ourselves and cross some of those 300 bridges that exist. They call this the Venice of this part of the world, of Central Europe, although this term gets bandied around quite a lot. The real Venice has 400 bridges. They say Wrocław has 300